Good afternoon, everybody. It's Trisha here with this week's video. Okay, so first off, how is everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a good week. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm having a good week and I'm doing well as well. And as you can see, I'm really excited because we are outside. So it is mid-February, well, the second week of February, the Saturday before the Super Bowl, and we are having a really nice warm streak this week. So I was going to say that it's a little bit unusual, but it's not really unusual. For as long as I can remember, in February, there's always been this one period, maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe even as long as a week, where it's been warm outside, upper 30s, mid 40s, almost into the 50s. Actually, there was a record in 2018 in our area of 68 degrees on one day in February. So that was I think I remember that day. I think I was outside in like a t-shirt and jeans in that day. Anyway, so that I usually remember those times because when that's over and the 32-degree temperatures come back, it's usually a cruel reminder that the winter's not over yet, but it's also usually a reminder that February is part of the transition into a new season and new things are ahead. So we are outside today doing a video and we're going to do a little garden planning. So February is a good time to do garden planning because, well, we've been inside for a long time and going through a cold winter, many of us, and we don't have that much else to do. So why not think about when we can work on our gardens and what we can put in our gardens? So garden planning comes into effect. Also, February is a good time to do garden planning because it gives you time to figure out what exactly you want to do with your garden and how you want to spend your money on your garden. So instead of going out in April or May and spending $300 or $400 in one paycheck or in 1 month's salary to get everything that you need, especially if you're starting out, because when you're starting out, you pretty much need everything. You can start early in January or February and start planning on what you need, and then you can start figuring out how you're gonna get these things. Like last year was my first year in the garden, so I started ordering things in January that would come and they would be delivered at the appropriate time for my growing season so I could start planting, but I didn't have to worry about it. I could pay for it at that time and I could pay for it in small chunks, and it wasn't a financial burden and it wasn't as much of a physical burden either because the things came, they didn't all come at the same time. So I had time to take my time and plant different things at different times. So it's just a good way of to think of planning in your area. So, one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish in the garden is I'm trying now that I have kind of an established garden, I have some things that are already in, some perennials and some annuals. I'm trying to accomplish a way that I can work smart and not work hard. Because what's happening for me right now is last year I had the summers off. So I was able to dedicate a lot of time to just getting the garden started and then to maintaining it. I don't have that anymore. So I'll be working all through the summer, maybe a couple weeks off, maybe a week off in July, maybe a couple weeks off in August. So I'm trying to figure out a way that I can actually maximize the times that I do have. I'll be a true weekend warrior working on Saturdays and Sundays and be able to do the things I need to do in a shorter period of time. So what I'm doing right now is I'm thinking of which annuals and which perennials that I can get. So for those that are completely new to gardening, there's a difference between annual plants and flowers and perennial plants and flowers. So we'll start with perennials. Perennial plants and flowers are flowers that you're going to plant that are going to come back for you every year. So those would be your hostas, your coral bells, your uh, hydrangeas, things like that, your coneflowers. I'm staring right at my neighbor's plant, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's also a perennial. So those are going to be the perennials. Those are the things that you're going to plant them once, you're going to take care of them through the season, and then in the winter you're going to just leave them alone. The next season they'll come back and they'll start growing all on their own, and then you just go through the cycle again. So you don't have to replace them, is what I'm trying to say. The only change that you'd make is if you plant something that you don't like, then you can take it out and replace it with something else. Maybe you planted it in an area that you're not happy with. You can move it to another area that pleases you a little bit more. Those are the only real changes that you have to make with them. Whereas you also have annuals, and your annual flowers are the flowers that you're going to plant in the spring, and they're going to grow for you for the season, and then they're going to be done. They are not going to come back for the next season. Now you have choices. You can either leave them at the end of the season in the ground. Some people leave their annuals in the ground and allow them to be cover for insects and small animals during the winter. And some people clean up all their annuals during their fall cleanup. That's up to you. But those are your options. All right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out a way that I'm trying to configure my garden where I'm leaning a bit more heavily on perennials, and then I'm adding annuals just as an accent, because that's going to be easier for me work-wise, because once those things are put in, then the next year I'm not going to have to do anything with them unless I want to change something. And then I can just come in with the annuals to add a little bit more color, a little bit more splashes of color here and there. And that'll be easier on me also financially, because I'm not going to be buying as much during the growing season. So that's what I'm trying to do. So let's start the tour. So we're standing on the porch, and on the porch we have some planters here on the fence. We have one here, we have one over here, we have one behind me. So we have a few of them. So what's going to happen for these, we're probably going to keep these with the geraniums that were here last year. So because they were really pretty, and they're right in front of the window. There's a window right behind me, and that's a dining room window. So literally, when I'm sitting down at the table having breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and the curtains open, I can just look out and see all color right behind me. This is all usually just color, and it's beautiful. I posted pictures before, but the pictures don't do it justice. It's really gorgeous, so we're going to do that. But what I also want to do, and I didn't plan this out correctly the last year, but you see the things hanging down from the awning. I'd like to put hanging baskets here. I wanted to do this last year, but I got kind of excited, and I ordered a whole bunch of stuff, and it was a lot. So I didn't really have the time or the energy to do it. But I want to put hanging baskets. And in the hanging baskets, I think I'm going to use super bells. I've always been crazy about petunias, because they grow fabulously, and they're really a good performer. They're really a good worker. So I've always wanted to use them. But this year, what I noticed last year is that by, I'd say, mid-July, early to mid-July, they start getting leggy, they start getting dry. You've got to clip them and trim them and make sure they're okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people can do that. But like I said, I'm going to be working a lot more this summer, so I want to work hard and work smart and not hard. There's going to be some hard work, but you know what I mean. So super bells aren't really like that. Super bells, once they get the conditions that they want, they get the sunlight that they want, they get the water that they want, then super bells are absolutely fine. We used them last year, and they flourished. Even this fall, it took a long time to get really cold, and even when it got really cold, the super bells were still going. So we're going to continue that. All right, so let's continue, and let's go down the steps. And on the steps, we have a nice little single boxwood behind me. I'm thinking of adding a couple more boxwoods, but we'll see how that goes. So over here, we have our rose bushes. So what I want to do, I want to be careful in this area, because I really don't want to disturb what's already going on. These rose bushes bloom every year, and they bloom beautifully, so I don't want to change that in any way. But what I do want to do, we have a knockout rose here. I don't think this is staying here. I think this is going to go across to the other side of the fence. So we have space over here. Last year, for as a present from one of my students, I got a miniature rose, but I didn't really have a chance to take care of it, because there was a lot going on, and it died out on me a lot faster than I thought. And plus, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was still learning. So I'd like to get a couple more miniature roses, and I'd like to plant them in this space, if I can plant them without disturbing the roots that are already here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just dig around and explore, and I'm going to see how this looks, how it looks in here. If I can get some space, have some space to plant the miniature roses here, then I'll do that, and I'll see how it goes. I'll see if they like that space. And like I said, this knockout rose is probably going to go across. So let's go across. to another garden. So we have our garden over here, and this garden, maybe I can get it this way. There we go. This garden was more like a mixed garden type thing. There were containers, there were in-ground plants, and it was really pretty. So what I'd like to do with this garden this year, we're probably going to do the same thing, but I'm thinking of now. Last year, if you were on my page, if you watched my videos, if you knew me at all, heard me talk, you knew how much I loved dahlias. Last year was my first year growing anything, but really my first year growing dahlias. And they performed really well, especially the Cafe Au Lats. They did really well. But the one thing that I underestimated was their stems are thick and strong and heavy, and they need a really strong staking system, and I didn't have that. I had the regular, garden stakes, these large pieces of wood that you stick in the ground and tie the stems to, and that worked for a while. But the more they grew, the heavier they got. One good breeze. I live 3 blocks away from the beach, so we're always getting the sea breeze, and when it rains here, we get the breeze. One good breeze, those things go down. So I've got to work out a staking system, and I figure we have a fence right here. Why not take advantage of that and use that? Maybe I can plant a couple of the dahlias back here in the space that I have back here, and I can stake them to the fence. And the fence isn't going anywhere. The fence is pretty sturdy. It's not moving. So I won't have to worry. Whoops, I almost fell over. I won't have to worry about the staking system. I won't have to worry about having a staking system because the fence will be the staking system. The fence will be sturdy, and I can plant a couple here. I've got space here, and I've got space for a couple here. The only thing is that they might compete a little bit with my neighbor's hibiscus, but I don't see that as a problem because they're in 2 different yards. And it's hibiscus that I was trying to remember. Hibiscus is also a perennial that will come back every year. That would have killed me if I didn't remember it. So that's really the only addition that I'm thinking of making here. The rest of this area is going to be the same thing. We're going to have some containers. We have this little bush area thing going on here that I'm not really sure what this is, but my mom is really proud of it, so I have no intention of touching it. We have lilies that usually, Asiatic lilies that usually grow in this area, come up in this area. So we'll have some of that, and we'll have some containers. And then over here, up against the house, we'll also have our containers that will be mixed with, I think, supertunias and things like that. I skipped on the porch. I also want to do on the porch, on this ledge part, I want to do containers up here. We did it before. We didn't do it last year, but we've done it before. In those containers, I'll probably use the supertunia, because I think they would be nice, and the way they kind of spill out, I think that would be really nice for those containers. I might even use sweet potato vine, but I'm not sure. We'll see. I wanted to use something like oh gosh, what is the one, string of pearls that hangs down? But I'm pretty sure it's going to need, string of pearls does not need that much water, so the water situation is going to be too much for it. So I'm not going to mess with that. So let's go down a little bit more, and we have another rose trellis over here, and we also have my side garden that I was really proud of last year. Let's see if I can go here. Oh, the winter sowing. I checked the winter sowing I think yesterday, and there was no real progress with it, so we'll just have to wait. I'm really hoping I used the right type of seeds. I might not have used the right type of seeds, and if that's the case, you live, you learn. I'll figure out what type of seeds that I need to use, and then I'll be able to use those. But right now in my side garden over the growing season had coral bells, which is right. It was just here. It said salvia. The tag said salvia. I don't know if it was actually salvia. I think it was a mistake on the grower's part, or the garden center part, because it didn't quite look like a salvia. When I looked it up in a plant app, I got different kinds of plants, and I got 2 different kinds of plants. I don't remember which ones, but one was annual and one was perennial. So I just figured I'd keep this in in the ground for a while for the winter, and I'll see what it does in the spring. If it doesn't do anything, I can just pull it out and replace it with something. But here I had the coral bells, the salvia, maybe, maybe not. I had my dahlias, the cafe au lait dahlias. I had one or two primrose that actually grew here, and I had coleus. I had coleus, a nice colorful coleus. As you can see, the only thing that remains, because all of those things were annuals. I'm not sure if the dahlias are considered annuals. The dahlias, you at the end of the season, you cut them back and you pull out the tubers, because if you keep them in the ground, they'll rot out, and you save them. So I'm not sure what that would be considered. I would consider that a perennial, because it's not like you're buying new tubers. You just have to plant them again. I don't know. But the other things were all annual, so I had to take them out, and the only thing that's left are the coral bells. And as you can see, I don't know, it could be just me, but they're not looking that great. They're kind of flat on the ground. They're not standing up. This is not the way I bought them. When I bought them, they were standing up and they were doing well. I'm not quite sure what happened. The only thing that I can think is that when I planted them, I bought them young. They were young, and when I put them in, they were the first things here. But then I started adding things, and I think I might have added a little bit too much, and this area might have just gotten a little bit too dense for these plants. So they didn't do very well. Well, a couple of people told me to wait and see, that they'll perk up in the spring, and I'm hoping they do. But if they don't, I'm going to have to decide whether I want to put them in containers and give them another environment, or if I just want to throw them away and start again. But I won't touch them, because I'm noticing here on this one, this looks like some new growth over here. So that's encouraging. So maybe it might just need me to leave it alone and let it grow a little bit more, and maybe trim off the old growth so the roots can concentrate on supporting the new growth. Maybe that might be an option. So I'm just going to leave it alone. But for the new season, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do here. I was really, really, really impressed with the sweet potato vine. I had the sweet potato vine planted in here, and it just did amazingly. It's a true vine. It just vined all over the place. Once it started growing, I was literally cutting it back every 3 weeks, because it would get all over. It would get onto the walkway. It was climbing up the roses. It was doing all kinds of things. So I'm thinking of either planting a couple in ground or in containers. Probably in ground. I think planting them in ground would be nice. And getting like a trellis that I can stick in either a trellis or an obelisk that I can stick in the ground, and it'll be about this tall, and the sweet potato vine can grow on it, can grow up it. And I could actually teach it how to vine up the trellis. I don't even think I would have to teach it, train it. It knows what to do. And it would grow up the trellis. I think if I can do that, like in 2 or 3 different places, I think that would be really pretty in that area. And then I can do some more annuals in that area, and this can be my annual garden. I don't think I'm going to do the dahlias here, because I think the dahlias are going to need a little bit more space. So I'll just do the sweet potato vine. I might leave some of the coral bells here, and I think I might make this area a little bit more minimalist this year, instead of having my side garden / jungle here. But that could change, because I'm not sure what I want to do. So let's continue. We're almost at the back. This is the side area. This is all going to be vegetables. This is Mom and my neighbor's area. So this is all going to be tomatoes, cucumbers, green peppers, potatoes, things like that. And then in the back, we have various containers that we're gonna continue. And one thing I'm thinking of having, not thinking of, one thing I'm going to get, is I'm going to order a greenhouse, a small greenhouse. I don't have a lot of space back here, so I can't do anything ambitious here. But I am going to order a greenhouse, and I'm going to put it right over here in this space. This stuff's not going to be here. We'll fix it up, so that I can put it together maybe early April, and I can actually maybe start some seeds. Maybe I can work out some kind of heating system in there, or even the things that I get, maybe I can get some plants a little bit earlier, because what happened last year, because I didn't know any better. So last year we started buying a whole bunch of plants in early April, but it was still too cold to plant anything. So we had everything in the basement. And at the same time, at the end of March, I started all of my dahlias. Who told me to do that? No one. Literally no one told me to do that. But I decided I was going to start all of the dahlias at the same time, except the cafe au lats, because I didn't get those till later. And so I had everything growing in the basement. And it was a mess. It was a jungle. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was exciting because we knew what we were going to use it for, what it was going to become, but it was just a mess. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to repeat that this year. So what I want to do this year is I want to make things a little bit easier. And if I can get some kind of system, greenhouse system, then when we buy things a little bit early, we can keep them out in the greenhouse. I can also start seeds, and when it's time to harden the seeds off, I'd have the greenhouse to put them in to harden them off, so that they're ready to go in the soil. And hardening the seeds off just means acclimating the seeds to the outdoors, to the outdoor temperatures, so that they're ready to put in the ground. So that's one plan, one idea. Something else that I'm going to do, that I have to figure out, is this grass is right in front of the flower beds. And last year, our gardener, our landscaper, was not happy with me, because by July, our grass was completely dead. Because in order to access the flower beds, I had to step all over the grass. In the beginning of the year, I tried to use, we have this brick path over here. I tried to use that and then walk along the wooden part. I fell, or almost fell, so many times. I just got sick of it, so I just started stepping on the grass. And by July and August, by the time the landscapers came, the head landscaper was just furious, because he really worked hard to do this grass. So he was just not happy with me. I was literally hiding in the house because I just didn't want to face him. And I mean, it's our property, so we can do what we want. But I understand his frustration. He did a lot of work on the grass, and then he comes back and it's all dead. And now we're going to turn around and complain about the grass. Sorry about the noise. We have new neighbors moving in, and they're doing a little fixing up. So hopefully you can hear me even despite the noise. So I think what we're going to do is me and Mom were talking about this morning. I think we're going to carve a little path in the grass in front of the ledge, just a little path with gravel. So that'll be enough for me to walk on. That'll be enough for me to place bags of soil or compost or whatever the case may be on that, and so I don't have to use the grass. So I can use the path to get in. I can walk on the little gravel path that we create. I can put my tools and everything there, and I can leave the grass alone, and I don't have to disturb it, and I don't have to, piss anybody off, because I really did feel bad. So my idea, I'm a little lost for words right now, because my ideas for this space, this garden, change every week. So right now I'm back to having the idea of having a cottage garden. So basically what a cottage garden, my understanding of a cottage garden, is a garden that looks kind of natural. It doesn't look like it was designed. It doesn't look like it was landscaped. It looks like something that you would find out in a forest, in a meadow, that's been untouched for a long time. I'm not sure. I'm new at this, so I've never done a cottage garden before, but I kind of have an idea of what to do. So what I think I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up taking out the white gates, the barrier things around the tree. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take out the pansies and probably put them someplace else. Maybe I'll put them over here so they'll have some shade in the summer. Those pansies did really well last year, but they didn't last in the sun. The sun was too much for them. So I'll put them in shade. And then I'll have this whole area, this whole expanse, free. So some plants I was thinking of using. I'm thinking of doing roses again. I'm probably thinking of getting a couple roses. I was thinking of putting a couple dahlias back here and just getting trellises for them. And sorry, I have to take this scarf off. Not sure why I'm wearing a scarf. My mother always taught me to put a scarf on. As long as your neck is warm, then you'll be fine. You won't get sick. I know that you don't get sick by being cold, but because my mother always taught me that, I've always got to have a scarf on. It's really weird. I'm not crazy, I promise you. So, I was thinking roses. I was thinking a couple dahlias. I'm not sure about the dahlias, but if I do dahlias, they'll be with a trellis, so they can have something to stake on them. But if I do dahlias, there'll be a lot of trellises back here, and I'm not sure I want to put that many trellises back here. I think it'll be overkill, so I might not do dahlias. I want to see, and I'm gonna walk on the grass. Please don't tell the landscaper I'm walking on the grass. I want to see. I have some things in here. If we can see, I have my hydrangea. I have one here, and I have one on the other side. I honestly don't think it's coming back. By the end of the season, last year was really, really difficult for us. We had a really difficult time, so we weren't really caring for the plants as well. And I just don't know. I just don't know what to think about the hydrangea. I don't know if it's coming back. I'm noticing a little green on it right now, if you can see, right down here. So there's a little foliage down here. This is weeds, but this is foliage. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with that. I also have some canna lilies that I never pulled up. So I have to pull those up and see if the root, not the root, if the bulb is still good. If it is, I can use it somewhere else. So I don't think I'm going to keep those in this space. I think what I'm going to have in this space, I'm going to try to keep the hydrangea if it does anything. If it doesn't, I might just replace it. I'll have roses. I'm thinking of having things like coneflower and yarrow, because I'm thinking of the presentation and how it's going to look. So I'm thinking of having like a layering effect. So some things will be taller plants, and then some things will be shorter plants, and they'll kind of, graduate. So the shorter things will be in the front, and the taller things will be in the back. But I don't want it to look contrived, and I don't want it to look like I made it that way. I want it to look almost haphazard. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but that's the plan for now. I don't think I'm going to repeat the Supertunia back here, because it didn't really do well in ground. Supertunia for me did better in containers than it did in ground. The ones in ground just kind of look sloppy, and they did nothing for me. I don't know why. The ones in containers looked really beautiful until about mid-July, when they started to look a little bit tired. But I know what to do with those now. I know how to trim them now. The ones on the ground just, I don't know. I don't know what it was. The soil conditions were pretty much the same. I mean, I had soil put in. The soil that was put in. This whole thing was installed last year. So the soil was put in last year. So I know the soil is good. I used compost. I used all the same things. But the petunias, the supertunias in the ground just, I don't know, fell flat for me. They just looked really sloppy. So I'm not sure, and I don't know. I don't think I want. Like I said, I want the area to look haphazard, so I don't want an edging. I don't want flowers on the edge to look like an edging, because that looks too designed. I don't want a designed look. So I still have to think about that. I know roses are going to go in here. I know the hydrangea, if the hydrangea survives, are going to go in here. And I know some coneflower and some yarrow are going to go in here. And that might be it for this year. But it's February, and there's a long time since the growing season, and like I said, I've changed my mind at least 10 times. So we'll see what happens. Behind me is the roses, and in this area over here, in between the roses, this is where I had the gladiolus last year. And the gladiolus, I was so excited. I don't know if anybody remembers, but I was so excited to plant the gladiolus and to have them up, and to wait for them to bloom. And I was thrilled with those things. And they lasted a week. They bloomed and lasted a week before they started to look ugly, and I was just so disappointed. So I decided I'm not going to lean too heavily on gladiolus this year. I think I have some old acorns from last year in the basement. If I do, I might put a couple in containers, or I might put some in the front garden. But I think I'll do something different with this area. But what I'm going to do with that area, I'm not sure. To tell the truth, this backyard, this whole cottage garden is kind of overwhelming me right now. So I think I just need to sit down and really map that part out. And that's the good thing about planning early. You want to come out and you want to plan early because you really want to give yourself time to change your mind, because it's your space. You're allowed to change your mind. It wouldn't make sense for you to do something that you think others would be pleased with in a space that you're cultivating, you're spending money for, and you're spending time in. Why would you do something that other people would love if you're not going to love it too? So the good thing about planning is that you get a chance to come out and really look at your space and look at what you would like to do, and look at what would make you happy and what would make you pleased with that area. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. And I'm in the process of figuring out how to do it without killing the grass, which is what I'm doing right now, so maybe I should get off of the grass. So that's about it. That's our video for today. I just wanted to take you out and do something a little bit different, because we've been inside for a while, and doing videos inside is nice, but we've been inside for a while and it's time to get out. Oh, I forgot to show you. We're gonna go back on the grass. Please don't tell the landscapers. I hope he doesn't have a video here. But I forgot to show you the tulips are already starting to come up. Now, I don't know if they started to come up because there was a warm snap, or if that's just what they do. I don't remember what they did last year. But they're already starting to come up, and it's really, really exciting. And we've also got a little, can we see it? Little ladybug friend. Which is weird because I rarely see ladybugs around here. But now that I see her, I'm happy that she's here. Anyway, so that's our video. And now I'm going to get off the grass and stay off the grass because I don't want to get in trouble again. So that's our video. If you have any ideas of things that I can do, that would be great. I am in New York State in Zone 7B. We're near the beach, so we get a sea breeze. Our sand, I don't think our sand is that sandy. I don't think our soil is that sandy, I'm sorry. So we have some pretty good soil conditions. Oh, and there's one more thing I wanted to try. I also wanted to try peonies. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit scattered, but I'm excited. I wanted to try in this space. I wanted to try peonies. So peonies are something that my mom has tried before and she wasn't pleased with them, but I'd like to try them myself and see how they're doing. So that's something else that I could put in there, and that might be it. That might be enough for the cottage garden to make it look nice, to make it look haphazard and whimsical and pretty, and to just leave it alone, and to have an area where I don't have to keep buying things over and over for the season. Maybe in this area over here, I can use annuals here and put annuals and buy annuals for this area. But for this area, maybe this will be a good perennial cottage garden that I won't have to touch every season. Maybe that would be a good idea. So that's something I'll think more of. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for being here for this video. Thank you for coming outside and enjoying the outside and the nature with me. And if you have any ideas, this video is going to be on YouTube, so if you have any ideas, please leave your comments. If you have any questions, leave your questions. I'll answer them as best as I can. And maybe we can share some ideas on what we can do with our garden. Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you get a chance to enjoy this day. It's not over. It's still beautiful. So get out, enjoy the weather, because it's going to get cold again for many of us, unfortunately. Or fortunately, if you like that kind of thing. So have a great day, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.